So we've got some time now to, we've been chatting away. I've been asking you some questions. So this is an opportunity now for who's everybody else who's on the webinar. I'm not sure who it's from actually, but hey.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, it's pretty topical. So I'll just read it out for everyone because it might not come up on everybody's screen. But so Gerry, what's your view on obviously the 50K is coming to an end with the Olympics this year, and how do you think that's going to impact I guess the 50K specialists in the future? That's our question.
I think it will reduce the number of 50K specialists that are in the future. Oh man, in athletics, we can do some really things, and I kind of think this is one of them. I can understand. Well, I don't understand the rationale. I think it's just somebody made something up that they there's no science behind why they made the change, but the idea of aligning race walking distances closer to running distances is the only rationale that I know of that even starts to make a bit of sense. So our 20K and the half marathon, they're pretty close to equivalent. So somebody sees a 20K walker doing 86 minutes, then they know how fast that is, and they know it's way faster than they could ever hope to run. But with a 50K, it's really hard for people to make an equivalent to the marathon. Dropping it to 40K, I think, was a much better solution than what we've come up with for a couple of reasons. One of them is that the 40K lines up with the marathon. People can go, sub 3 hours. Yeah, that's pretty good. But also, when you're looking at the physiology and what's happening to a race walker, you need to get to 35K before you start to sort the wheat from the chaff. Because a moderately talented, moderately fit athlete can fake it into 35K. But after that, the wheels start to fall off. And I think the event needs a little bit of the wheel falling off part. For me, that's the most interesting part of it is okay, so we can all train to this point, but who figured out how to get us past that to the next point? And I don't think the 35K is going to do that for us.
Cool. Great. No, thanks, Gerry. Right.
Okay, thanks for asking the question, because I wanted to give that speech for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. We, hey, nobody likes change, but it's, but even if you step back and objective, that's a strong argument. And I agree completely on the race starts, the rate halfway, 35K is halfway, is the analogy that, when it gets, that is the challenge. So, right. Hey, let's get into one or two other questions. So, this one's from Steve. So it's modern management is now about learning to listen to your gut feeling, which you can learn. How much do you use this?
Okay. So modern management needs to spend a little bit more time studying neurology. Because if you go to somebody like, now his name is going to elude me. Okay, I'll find it. It'll come to me and I'll find it. But the problem with gut feeling or your type 1 thinking, this is type 1, type 2, is that it's wrong a lot of the time. I mean, it can be right, but it's wrong a lot of the time. And we use our type 2 thinking, which is our our rational thought process to sort of sort out and fix the mistakes that our type 1 reactions come up with. So yes, more to just doing rather than thinking through it, but still, reflection is an important part of most everything that we do.
Cool. I think perhaps a little bit like, that's, we can be perhaps almost like so conservative by just being entirely evidence-based in everything, which, perhaps takes away some of the creativity. But, perhaps the better expression is being led by the evidence, and that brings in a little bit of, bit more of sort of, of our experiences and our reflections.
So Andy, that brings up a really important, that's a question that you didn't ask, but I'm going to answer it anyway. So it's, you need to think on this evidence base. You need to think about who informs who. And does coaching inform science, or does science inform coaching, or do we inform each other? Because, we can't wait for science. Science is way too slow. If we waited for science, you would be like at least 5 or 6, 7, 8, 10 years behind everybody else because the evidence takes that long to generate. So we do things, we figure things out. We have no idea why they work. We don't even care why they work or not. They work, and we're going to keep using them if they keep working. And then somebody else, some scientists will figure out why that was, give us the evidence, and then it becomes part of the formal, here's what we do. But we have to be out past the edge and with all the new stuff that we have no idea how it works, and we can't be afraid to go there.
Cool. That's a great point. Right. A couple of other questions that we have from Chris. So his question is, so Gerry, you've done a lot of work on building resilience. How do you build that for sort of 18 to 23-year-olds, or do you leave that later?
Actually, 18 to 23 is kind of late to be starting that, because they've got 18 to 23 years of non-resilient habits that you have to work with. But I think the most important tool that I use is autonomy. And working with me, the athletes know that their program is their program. And I have resources to assist, but they drive it. They put it, into practice, and I let them take whatever risks they want. My job is basically, I'm a guardrail, and when they're going to go off the road, I just sort of bump them back onto the path, and they keep going. And to build resilience, I think you need a really, really light touch. Because if you're constantly correcting, where's the learning? And so, letting people make mistakes, watching the disasters happen, just making sure that, if it's a cliff edge, you're there to be the guardrail and bump them back on side.
Cool, thanks. Actually, that just picking up on that, I think, you had a very small group. Have a small group of athletes, and that's probably certainly in the UK. That would be the experience of, Chris's UK-based coach, as a Steve who asked the other question. And we have there's a small pool of athletes, what we've got is really, really good. But it's a small pool, and so letting them be autonomous, making those mistakes, and presenting some of those challenges. Perhaps sometimes that's a challenge for us, because we're conscious that we have a small number of performers, I think sometimes that's a challenge for us to do that, because we know that if we lose one of the athletes, it makes a big it makes a big dent in the, in the pool, because we've not got hundreds. We've just got a few to look after.
Yeah. So risk management, and that's one of the tools from the accounting profession, but risk management is a really important skill to have as a coach, because in order to be successful at the top level, you have to take a lot of risks. And in order to successfully, anybody can take stupid risks and get killed. That's easy to do. Taking the risks and surviving, that's way harder. And so you need to learn how to manage that to a point where you can take the biggest risk you can possibly take and come out of it smiling.
Cool. Right. I won't add to that. I won't challenge that. That's tip-top advice, I think. Right. Hey, there's another question on here from Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. She asked, she said, Gerry, you said it took 15 years to get an athlete to the Olympics when you started. So if you had to mention the two main factors that helped achieve that target, what would they be? So two. There's a challenge there. You've got two.
Okay, I'll revise the thing. Actually, I probably lied if I said that, because it took 12 years. It took 15 years for me to get to the top, but it only took 12 years. It's the second time to get. And if in two words, what would they be? Inaki Gomez. Because it was him and his desire to get there. He was way ahead of plan. The plan was 2016, but he didn't want to wait. And so he took the initiative to do that and get there. And then when that happened, it was like, oh, didn't plan for that, and I'm not ready. So it caused a whole bunch of work on my side to get me prepared so that I could represent him at the Olympics. Yeah.
Cool. That's a great, super. A bit of overachieving is, nothing wrong with a bit of overachieving.
And maybe can I do a thank you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thank British Athletics and British Sport for sponsoring all the great research that they sponsored, because that is the foundation of a lot of my work. And I mean, it's a strange thing that in your own country, some of the best work doesn't get acknowledged, but around the globe, other people go, this is what I wanted, and I'm picking up on this. And so, there's some great stuff coming out of the UK.
That's fun. Hey, it's interesting you say that, because I guess, I look, somebody that really well, I always look forward to seeing what he's up to and the work that he's doing. And that's Trent. Trent Stelling.
Yeah, we work quite closely together.
Yeah. There's a great scientist. There's somebody who's playing catch up with the coaches all the time, to make sense of all the, all the crazy ideas that we come up with. Trying
to instill a few crazy ideas. I mean, the idea, and the Aussies did this too, because we're Canadians and as Brits, you and us, we know about heat. We think we do. We know nothing. I mean, the Australians know that heat will kill you, and they know how to avoid getting killed. But we know cold, and we know cold will kill you. Aussies come over here, and they're foolish. And so we learned a lot. I mean, the idea of dunking an athlete up to their neck in an ice bath for 20 minutes immediately before going to the start line. What a crazy freaking, turns out to be the best thing you could do. It's just amazing. Just amazing. And we've done some experiments on that ourselves, and it's crazy what we thought were the reasons why that would be contraindicated turn out to have no foundation whatsoever, at least for race walking.
I was, like yourself, we've done, a lot of work. Doha was our the prep for Doha was our big testing ground as our dry run, or very hot and sweaty run through to, to Tokyo. And then, hey, all those plans have had to change. But we're, everything we learned is now starting to slot back in for the prep for this summer. What I was amazed about, one of my huge take homes from the Doha experience was how, some countries, got it so wrong. And really sort of struggled with that. I really noted that. Hey, some of them will learn. Not all of them. Some of them are smart enough to reflect, learn, and come back strong and be the threat that they should be. But yeah, you're quite right. Obviously, it's not about heat. It's 14 degrees here in Coventry, and I've got my shorts on. I think it's nice and warm.
Oh yeah, I know. My athletes were complaining about how hot it was. It's 15 degrees, guys. Steve asked a question here.
He does, yeah. So cool. Thanks, Steve. I think that's probably going to be our final one. But this is so in young squad camps, we ran teams with team leaders, and these seem to help develop teamwork and confidence. And the leaders develop further. Is that the sort of thing that you're looking at?
No. So peer leadership is this voluntary. It's part of our social being, and so peer leaders are not appointed or elected. They get anointed, and they may only be anointed by a few of the athletes, and up to 25% of the athletes on your team or in your group could be peer leaders. Peer leaders are the people who like explain things to another athlete who didn't get it, who motivate people, who talk to the athletes when they're having a crisis and a problem. I mean, and it's your peer leaders that are doing this work. So what I'm looking at with the study proposal I just put in was, how do you train those people when you don't know who they are or who they're likely to be, and they may only show up as a peer leader for one event? They may be a peer leader for their entire career. And so how do you, as a coach, be able to exploit that resource by improving the quality of your peer leadership? So it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. You can't do it directly. You have to find an indirect means. And so that's what this study is about, is using an indirect intervention to see if we can get an improvement in the quality of peer leadership. Yeah. Thanks for asking that question, because I was just dying to tell somebody about this.
Cool. Thanks. So yeah, indirectly there, inadvertently possibly, but yeah, thanks. Thanks for that one. Steve, wasn't it? Yeah. Thanks, Steve. And I think it's that peer leadership that probably just, it probably underpins and helps us as coaches, supports some of what we're trying to achieve. From the studies I've done, I couldn't determine whether it was the peer leaders that enhance the coaching or the coaching that enhances the peer leaders. And I think it might be some of each. I think so.